Hello and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. My name is Lisa Curcio. Today is Monday, October 4th, and the year is 2021. This is a YouTube live streaming event. Whether this is your first time at my channel or you are back to visit us tonight, we are thrilled that you are here. Thank you for joining me. I would love to interact with you all tonight, so make sure you log in to chat. I have 4 beautiful and easy DIY slider cards for you. Here's the best part. You don't need anything but your trimmer. I've got this super easy for you, and you are going to fall in love with this interactive moving card. Now, a couple things before we get started. First, I want to make sure that you know that there are going to be a total of 4 projects tonight, and all 4 are going to be in a free exclusive project sheet. That link is going to be provided underneath the title of tonight's video when the live stream is over. All you have to do is navigate there and click on it, and you can download it or print it to your computer. Next, I talked about chatting, and I come back and I read every single comment, and we do interact with you, so I would love to have you do so. If you are here watching the replay, leave a comment below. If you're here in the live chat, that's going to be off to the side, and we would love to interact with you. And obviously, I'm going to be stamping, so interacting with you live is a little bit challenging. So I want to introduce you to Gina Curcio Hawley. You'll see Gina's name here in blue, and Gina is my YouTube moderator, but she's also my daughter, and she's also the sales and marketing director at Lisa's Stamp Studio. And guess what? She's been stamping for 23 years, and she was 5 years old. She is more than versed to be able to answer your question and provide you with links. She's here to help make the chat process a lot easier for you and get you the information that you need. So I wanted to make sure I introduced you to her. We're ready. Let's go ahead and let's get started on tonight's slider card. The very first thing we're going to do tonight is we're going to start by creating a layer for the card that we're going to be making. And I decided to use a background stamp for this. Isn't this pretty? This is the Daisy Garden, and I love it because it's detailed and it's quick and easy. And tonight you might be looking at this thinking, oh my gosh, are you going to color that? The answer is no, because oftentimes we look at these detailed images and we think we have to color them, and that's not what we're going to do, because stamping in color is very, very effective. So let me show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to grab another piece of scratch paper, and I'm going to lay that underneath here because I know that this piece of paper is larger than the stamped image. Now I want to talk about this size image before we go too far. Obviously, if I was going to cover the entire thing, I would probably use my Stamparatus stamp positioning tool because that would cover the whole thing. But I have sized this specifically for the slider card. So I know it's not going to fit, which also means my magnet to hold this in place would be in a place that's not going to be conducive for stamping. So I want to make sure that I mention that. So tonight I'm going to use the clear block. If you have a clear block at home and don't have a stamp positioner, you're in good shape. I'm going to show you how. Whenever you have an image that is larger than your cardstock, and especially larger than your ink pad, you're going to want to leave it face up on your work surface in order to ink it up. So I'm just going to open up that Misty Moonlight here. I'm going to make sure that that's good and locked, and I'm going to ink it this way. That's going to ensure that I don't miss a spot. And I'm just tapping back and forth to make sure there's good coverage. Now, when your ink pads are new, they're super duper juicy, so make sure that you don't press too hard because you don't want ink around the negative of the stamp image. So I'm going to go ahead and just ink that up. Let me close this because an opening pad around here is always a recipe for disaster. And then I'm going to position this here, and then I'm kind of aiming for about here, and then I'm just going to press. One thing I found out about these detailed stamps, if you press too hard, it blurs it. So I'm trying to not press too hard, obviously, because I don't want to blur the stamp, but I want to make sure I trace out that design. When it sticks, that's always a good indication you've got a beautiful image there. Isn't that pretty? All right, now let's talk about this. Obviously, if you have a chamois or you have a Stampin' Scrub, you're going to be able to clean this very easily, but I want to give you a tip. I always take off the excess ink on my scratch paper. That is going to help reduce my trips to the sink to rinse out what I'm cleaning my stamps with, because who wants to walk away, right? When we're cleaning and stamping, we don't want to be able to have to disrupt what we're doing. So I'm just taking that off camera right now. I'm just going to clean my stamps. Always clean your stamps. Never put them away dirty. That's going to ensure when you pull them out for another project, they're good to go and you don't have to worry about transferring coverage. That's given this now just a few seconds for it to dry. And the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this over to here because we're going to add some adhesive to this. But I decided let's do our scoring first. So I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer for that. And I absolutely love this trimmer because it has both a scoring and a cutting blade, which means they navigate up and down out of the way. This is going to allow you to keep them on the track at the same time. And that clear cutting guide, super wonderful, especially when you're making fun fold cards, and you're going to see how handy it comes in tonight. So I'm going to navigate this one up, and I'm going to navigate this one down, and I'm going to bring in some Just Jade cardstock, a really pretty green, isn't it? Nothing fancy about this size. It is 5.5 by 8.5, and we're going to do 2 simple score lines. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this up. And my first score line is going to be at 1/2 inch. Love that straight edge here at the top. There's also one at the bottom. I can't do anything straight, so that saves my life. I'm just going to line up my cardstock at the 1/2 inch mark. I'm going to close that door, and we are going to score. I'm now going to move it over to, I'm looking at my notes. All of a sudden I forgot. Where am I going to? I think it's 4.5. Yes, oh my goodness. I have all these measurements in my head. Bear with me. And then we're going to score again. That's it. All right, so let me set that off to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crease up on these just to make it easier for you to follow along with me. And I'm going to do that one here. Obviously, this is going to be the area we're going to place our adhesive. All right, so we're not going to do too much with that right now. When I close my card, I like the seam to be towards the back so that it's not facing the front. And that indicates then that this is where that layer is going to go that I created. So remember this? I'm going to be using my silicone craft sheet. It is one of my very favorite little accompaniment tools here in the studio because adhesive, liquid glue, and hot glue will not stick to it, because if you're anything like me, you're going to get a little excited. It gets sticky on your work surface, doesn't it? And I'm going to be using my Stampin' Seal Plus. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some adhesive right around the perimeter of here. My Seal Plus is very, very strong. As a matter of fact, I have learned since this has come out not to press too hard because it's strong and you don't want it to destroy your paper. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this just so you can see this crease line here. We want to stay within this perimeter, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach that here. I'm looking to leave a border all the way around, and then we're going to press that in place. Now the next thing I decided to do was to make a notch on this, and I think I might do that after we do the next step, which is going to be the opening or the mechanism for the slider. So I'm going to bring the trimmer back in, but this time we're going to be cutting. So I'm going to leave that scoring blade up and out of the way, and you're going to see I have my cutting blade here. So I'm going to just move it down, and what we're going to do now is we are actually going to flip this little tab with the 1/2 inch. Watch, we're going to flip it all the way around this way. We're going to open up the trimmer, and we are going to line this up at the 1 3/4 inch here on the side. So I've got this right along 1 3/4 inch. Once I have it there, I am going to put my finger underneath the gauge here because I want to be able to navigate the blade into position. The blade is going to go at the 1 inch mark, and we are literally going to slice from the 1 inch mark to the 4.5 inch mark. Now I know that's going to be difficult for you to see because it's clear and obviously the camera reflection, but when you have the trimmer in front of you, these are printed in black. It's very, very easy to see. So again, I'm just going to go over this with you. This is going to be at the 1 3/4 inch mark, this small size. We're upside down, and then you're going to keep your finger here, and you're going to bring your blade to the 1 inch mark. There's a little mark right there, so you can line it up very easily. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay that down. Oh, I want to make sure I don't move that. It always happens when you're all watching, right? And then I'm going to slide that down to 4.5 inches. And again, I can see where I'm going. But remember, we're going through 2 pieces of cardstock here. So I want you to travel the blade up and down a couple times because I want you to make sure that you're going through it. And it's easy to do because you can actually feel the start and the stop points with the blade. Very simple. All right, and then once you're confident, we're going to go ahead and lift that. And that now is going to give us this. Do you see it right here? All right, let's move this off to the side and let's move on. Now we talked about a notch because we're going to pull a slider from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eye this, and I'm turning it upside down, and I'm going to grab my pencil. Love this pencil. If you've here watching my videos before, you'll know that I have some craft room favorites. These are products that I use that are not in my online store. They're not provided by Stampin' Up, but they aid me in my crafting. This pencil rocks. You're going to be able to find that under my website, under Shop and Craft Room Favorites. Lots of goodies there for you. But I like it because the lead is soft, and the pencil eraser is amazing. At the very bottom of my grid paper, and I know it's just outside your camera view, this exact same little ruler there is across the bottom, all right? So I know I'm out of your camera view, but I can only fit so much. And really simple, I'm gonna show you. I just measured the halfway point because closed, this is 4 inches. So obviously this would be the 2-inch mark. Watch what we're gonna do next. If you have the layering circles dies, that's gonna work. I have a 1-inch circle punch, and I love these for little tiny jobs. I'm going to put that punch in, maybe about halfway, just to create a notch. I'm looking to see that my little pencil mark is about halfway. And once I'm happy with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to punch out that notch. Now, the reason I didn't punch through both of them at the same time is, guess what? That is a great way to ruin your punch. Punches were not designed to go through 2 and 3 layers of full cardstock for their intended shape. Since I only did a small notch, I knew that I was safe to get through there, but it would not effectively go through all 3 pieces. So watch what I'm going to do now. I'm going to leave this lined up, and I'm going to bring this back in, and I'm going to use that first layer as a cheat mechanism, and that's going to punch out my second one now, which goes through both pieces. That's going to make things a lot easier for me. Now remember this little slit here? That's where we're going to bring in the actual mechanism. And guess what? Look how easy this is. This is just a simple piece of scrap cardstock. This measures 3/4 of an inch by 3 1/4. This is going to go right inside of here like so. Now before I go too far, I'm going to grab a dimensional because I like to use this as not only a stopper, but also is going to give me an idea of where my image is going to go to slide across the card. So what you're going to see here is I'm going to be able to flip this over, and I can move this in and out. Does that make sense? Now, obviously, if you're going to go in a different orientation, which, by the way, I have 3 other samples for you, and several of them are in a different orientation, so make sure you hang with me. I can move this all the way over so that the dimensional is acting as that bumper. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open up the card, and this is where our other piece of paper is going to go. Now, all the cutting dimensions and multiple pictures are going to be in that free project sheet, so make sure you download that. It's going to be underneath the video description when I'm all done with the live. I took the liberty of stamping the greeting ahead of time, and I just want to pull out the stamp set so you can see it. This is called Peaceful Moments. It's in the annual catalog, and it is one of my favorites. I love the fonts, and I love the huge array of greetings that can be used either on the outside or the inside of your cards. So this is what I did ahead of time just to save a little bit of time. But do you see this area right here? That's the only place you're going to put adhesive to hold this. Now there's a couple things that you can do. You can go ahead and add your adhesive here, which is probably what I'm going to do tonight, or you can use tear-in tape. Both of these are very, very strong. If you use the tear-in tape, you're going to place it down and just rip it off. It's very simple, and we are going to use it for the outside. So just bear with me. We're going to do a little bit of both tonight so that you can see the difference. Because I don't want adhesive to fall here with my Stamp and Seal dispenser, I'm going to use that little silicone craft sheet to my advantage. I also want to make sure, before I go too far, that I mention this. You don't want this white piece to go past the crease, because obviously if it does, if you come just a little bit too far, it might bend it, and you don't want any bulk there. So I'm just going to back it up just a smidgen to make sure that it makes it. We're going to tuck this back underneath. That's going to hold my excess adhesive. And then I've got my Stampin' Seal Plus here, and we're going to come right down here. That silicone craft sheet underneath there is going to catch any excess adhesive if I got a little bit excited, all right? And like I said, that stuff is really, really strong. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay this here. I'm just going to kind of make it as straight as I possibly can. And then this with the greeting has to go upside down, because remember, this is the front of the card. So we're going to line this up here, and we're looking to make sure that we're near the top and that this is going to catch that little white piece right here. So I'm looking sideways and at the top, just doing my best to align it. Once I'm happy with it, we're going to press this in place. I've sized this to make sure it's going to have a little bit of wiggle room here, so don't think it's too tight. And then we're going to press. All right? Now I want to show you what the next step is going to be. This. Do you see how it travels up and down that slit? All right, but let me give you some more tips about finishing up this card. The next thing we're going to do now is we are actually going to seal it. I prefer to seal it next because that helps me to kind of keep everything contained. So let's go ahead and use that tear and tape this time. And that is here. This is another product in my online store. By the way, you can find everything in my online store, and I offer great, generous ordering rewards to all my customers. We're going to lay that right here near the end, but you don't want it to overlap, obviously. And here's where the tear part comes in. Just put your fingernail there and then just break that. Make sure that you press on this paper backing because you want to make sure that that tape is burnished into the cardstock. This is my Take Your Pick tool. I love that putty tip for those little sequins and those small pieces of paper. And I've put on my interchangeable tip here of the paper piercing tool attachment. And that's going to help me get that started. Now I want to give you another tip. I'm only going to pull off a little bit and I'm going to point it downwards. Watch. We are going to tuck this inside so that it makes a pocket. Does that make sense? All right. But oftentimes when I take all the tape off, I have a sticky mess and I'm fighting to get things even. So this actually works better for me. But I'm just going to make sure that this is coming forward so I can actually see it. That's important. Let's bring it this way. And I'm going to start here at the top and I am going to press. All right. So only this part is stuck, remember? Because the paper is here. And then all we're going to do is we're going to peel and we're going to press. And that's going to make sure that you are lined up every single time. All right. Now we've got this piece here, right? Let's talk about a way to pull this out. Now, obviously, you could leave it the way it is. I prefer to put a little ribbon there, but I've got some with alternates that I want to be able to show you as well. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up near the top so that I have an idea of where the hole needs to go. Now, you can see I didn't make a very deep hole here, did I? You know, I'm thinking, can we jerry rig this? I bet we can. Do we dare? Do we dare? I'm kind of thinking we probably shouldn't. This one, you know what? I'm feeling brave tonight. Are you guys with me? Okay, let's do it. This is the best part about a live. I want to make it this deeper because look, there isn't a whole lot of room here for my hole. And I don't want to make it too shallow because otherwise my ribbon will probably rip there. Let's go for it, right? I got another one I can always show you. I'm going to take this punch. Let's see if it's going to fit. And I'm going to put this right inside of here. Watch. Let's see. You know what? I always say that nothing beats a failure but a try. Have you guys ever put a card together and it just wasn't the way you wanted it and you wanted to go back and fix it? Yeah, I'm right there with you. All right, look, let's make this a little bit deeper. I'd rather go a little bit than too much, right? And then we're going to pop that out. All right, now let's see if Lisa can do the back side of this equally as well. Let's take a look. I'd rather do just a little bit than too much. Ooh, look at that. I may have saved myself. Okay, yes, okay. You know, I oftentimes feel really embarrassed when I make a mistake on camera, but don't we all, right? So I figured, why not show you how you can fix it? Now we've got more room. All right, so I'm looking here and I'm taking my 1/8 inch handheld punch and I'm gonna make a hole right here in the center. You see how that little bit would have been too shallow? Well, the best part about Stampin' Up! Products is the color coordination. And this is that gorgeous Just Jade ribbon that matches. It has gold threads with it. Ooh, so pretty. I'm going to fold this in half. It's very, very pliable. It's got a cotton base to it. And we're going to go through this hole. And I know some of you are thinking, no way. Well, way. I'm going to be very careful. And I'm going to start by feeding it through with my Take Your Pick tool. Just enough where I can take it here and I can pull it through the back. And I have a loop here at the top. When you do this, you want to thread from the front to the back of your hole. Then you're going to take those raw ends and you're going to bring them through the hole. Now, the worst thing you can do is attempt to pull both of these at the same time. That will guarantee to rip that little tiny area. So what I want you to do is pull one and then pull the other. You're just looking to pick up the slack. If you pull too hard and you rip it, you gotta rip the whole thing apart and make it all over again. And yes, I have done that. All right, now that we've got that, we can take our scissors now. We can clean up our ends just a little bit. We just need a little bit of a pull there. So let's go ahead and take that away. And now let's talk about this. Wait until you see the other cards because I have a ton of ideas for you. Easy so far, right? All right, now I did do this ahead of time just to save a little time, but I want to show this to you, and I want to show you how I got it and where I got it from. This is the stamp set called Butterfly Brilliance. And you might look at this and think, oh my gosh, 6 beautiful separate butterflies. Yes, And no, guess what? This is a background stamp. It is all one piece because it has a coordinating one-piece die that cuts them all out individually. So you do the work once and you get 6 separate pieces when you die cut it. Now I want to show you, I keep a little bag inside my stamp case because obviously I'm going to have extra pieces I'm not going to need for this card, but they're all ready for my next card. And if I feel like getting in a coloring session, like you can see I have here, I can leave some colored here to use for future projects. Now you're going to be able to find this in the annual catalog, and it comes as the Brilliant Wings. Now you can buy it as a bundle, which will save you 10%, which gives you both. You're going to want both. And you're going to see there's extra dies here, but wait, there's more. Look it. These detailed dies work as overlays for these solid dies, so you can use designer paper, you can use foils, you can have a field day with this. Lots and lots of fun. That stamp works really well in the Stamparatus stamp positioning tool. Now let's go ahead and let's do a little bit of coloring here, and I am not going to color all this while you're watching me. I have one that's done. I chose a smaller butterfly for this, just simply because I didn't want to restamp it, and not only that, I have one finished now for my next card. I'm going to do a multitude of colors here, and I'm only going to color in one section because I don't think I need to see the whole thing. You're going to get the idea. I'm going to be using the Misty Moonlight. I have the dark and the light. Now you can buy them only in a combo pack, and you can use them independently or you can use them together. Oftentimes when I'm here in my work surface, I keep the lights and the darks on one side because sometimes the caps can look very, very close. And if you're like me and you're working, you're like all over the place, right? All right, so watch. I like to use the brush tip. If you prefer the chisel tip for smaller areas, that's fine. So we're going to add a little bit of Misty Moonlight here. All right, I'm working with all my lights. This now is Bermuda Bay. I am going to overlap some of what I already used. Okay, so I went into that Misty Moonlight. Here comes that Just Jade. I'm going to pick up some of that Bermuda and I'm stretching it out. Do you see what I'm doing here? And then finally, here's that dark shade. And then finally, I have Soft Seafoam. Now I'm going to start with the lighter shade and I'm going to pull this now to the inside of that butterfly. So how wide you make your margin is entirely up to you. Now here's where the magic comes. If you're happy with this, by all means leave it, but I love to color and I want to give you a couple tips. Remember, these were all the dark shades of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dark shade now and I'm going to work primarily right along the outside. This is going to give your project a little bit of density, which is really important. Remember that Bermuda Bay was next, so we're going to come between these two and bring in a little bit of density. And the same for the jade. Like I said, I find coloring very therapeutic. So for me, this doesn't seem fussy. If this is fussy for some of you, you know, I get it. I totally get it. But I wanted to teach you the tricks. Going back and pulling the dark and the light together is going to give you even more intensity. Now, you wouldn't think that in this little tiny area here, that this would make much of a difference by going back over it again to blend. But guess what? You're going to be really, really surprised because it does. You're going to be able to still see the darkest shade on the outside and the lightest shade on the inside. So there you go. Now, doesn't look very impressive right now because it's one wing. But here you go. Here is the entire butterfly. Isn't this absolutely beautiful? Just look at that. It almost looks real, like you could touch it. It's amazing what the Stampin' Blends alcohol-based markers can create, and they're super easy and they are flawless. Remember, you can use them in the place of dye-based markers as well. All right, let's go ahead and let's get this finished. We're going to put some embellishments on here too because you know I can't help myself. I got to be able to put some bling on here. You're going to want to be sure that when you position your image that you stay within the perimeter of the card. That's pretty important. Even though this is 4 inches, a typical card only has a 1/4 inch more. So you want to make sure that you stay within there. I'm going to tip mine going this way. And then last but not least, let's go with some of those gilded gems. I thought that this just gold color just brought in that ribbon so pretty. So I'm looking for a little bit of some smaller areas to place these. And I like to work in a triangle formation. They have glue dots already on the back, which makes them super easy to use. Just going to give those a little bit of a pull and watch. Are you ready? Oh, isn't that fantastic? I'm telling you what, when you give this card to them, they're not going to be able to stop opening and closing it and opening and closing it. Lots and lots of fun. All right, now I promised you other cards. So let me set this one off to the side, and I've got lots more to share with you. Now Christmas is coming, and here we go. This is Peaceful Dear, but you'll see on this one, I didn't add ribbon. But you see how it's notched so they can easily pull it. And there we go, sending love and peace this season. I want to talk to you really quickly about this card. I embossed gold on gold foil. It's a real wow. I put a link down in the video description if you have never heat embossed before to teach you how to do it. It is not difficult and it is a real wow, especially at the holidays. This tree stamps inside the stamp set are fantastic, but I want to point out one little thing to you. Do you see the trunks of my trees? Do you know what I did? I took my early espresso marker and I just went over the green with the brown to give these a little bit more of a realistic tone. And I don't know if you can pick it up here on the camera, but I used shimmery white cardstock. So that base is just glistening. So there we go. We have our Christmas card as well. All right, let's go on to the next one. How about a birthday card? I don't know about you, but that's the most frequent card I make next to Christmas, of course. And this one is from Turtle Friends. Adorable, and I decided to use the belated wish on this one just because I wanted something a little bit different. Maybe you're running a little behind on your card making. Don't let that deter you from still making and sending a card. Are you ready to watch this little guy move? Goes right across the card, and there you go. We've got a greeting on the inside. So it just slides in and out. This is using one of the decorative masks, which is a stencil, and the bottom half I just used my blending brush. But take a quick look at my turtle. Do you see what I did with his shell? You're going to be able to see this in the project sheet even better. I actually punched it with the coordinating turtle punch that goes with the stamp set, also offered as a bundle. And I just gave this a little bit of a 3D look and obviously more gems. All right, here comes your last one. And I will tell you that I struggled on whether I really like this or not, but I do, because it's different. So you might look at it and go, oh no, he's gonna go backwards. But that's okay, right? Because he's gonna move forwards as well, because sometimes we have to go backwards in life before we go forwards, right? Love the greeting on the inside of this, so cute. I hate to break it to you, but you're stuck with me, friends forever. A great cheer up card, and I think you guys are gonna really, really enjoy this. All right, so here's what we've got today. I want to know your favorite. Do me a favor and leave me a comment below and let me know which one is your favorite. Super easy slider interactive fun fold for you to make. Don't forget that project sheet. Now, a couple things before you go. If you're brand new here, head over to lisasstampstudio.com. If you scroll down about halfway, you're going to get a pop-up that's going to invite you to my newsletter, and you want it because if you like project sheets, I give you a free one there every Thursday in my newsletter that is not shared on any of my other platforms. There's a picture, step-by-step instructions, cutting dimensions, and all the supplies for you. It's a no-frills email, and I would love to have you join us. And also, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button down below and click the little bell icon that's next to it and the word all. That's going to send you reminders, notifications, when I'm live here on YouTube, which by the way is every week, because we would love to have you be part of our stamping community and join in on the fun for new ideas every single week live. And finally, do me a favor. Head over to lisasstampstudio.com, read all about my ordering rewards there. I have an extensive PDF tutorial library for you to look through as well. And then finally, mark your calendar because I'm coming back with you next week, but next week we got a different date. Next week is going to be Wednesday, and it's October 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I would love to have you join me. I've got a fun fold with a new revised spin on it that's going to make your life so much easier, and I cannot wait to share it with you. And by the way, it's a holiday card because if you're like me, we're in holiday card making mode right now. But the best part about this fun fold that's coming up next week is you can use it for anything. I look forward to seeing you then. Gina, thanks for all your hard work and moderating tonight. Take care, everyone. See you.